You know, in my 40 cycles of instructing at the Galactic Defense Academy, I thought I had seen every variety of stupid that the universe had to offer. I was wrong, dead wrong. And the worst part, the stupid came wearing a human smile. Commander Vex stood at the front of the briefing hall, all 7 feet of crystalline Vorath physiology gleaming under the harsh lights. His 3 eyes scanned the assembled cadets with the kind of expression that said he would rather be literally anywhere else. To be fair, I understood the feeling. This was the lecture. The one nobody wanted to give, and nobody wanted to hear. Attention, Vex's voice crackled through the translation matrix, sounding like grinding stones having an argument. Today marks your introduction to Survival Protocol Examination 97, commonly known as the Apex Predator Scenario. A collective groan rippled through the assembled cadets. 50 different species, 50 different ways to express existential dread. Beautiful, really, how universal terror can be. I was sitting 3 rows back, my sensory stalks twitching with anticipation. This was going to be entertaining. Not for the cadets, obviously. For them it was going to be traumatic. But for me, a seasoned observer. Pure theater. Vex activated the holo display and there it was. The thing. The absolute nightmare fuel that had been haunting cadet dreams for generations. The Apex Predator simulation render rotated slowly in the air. All teeth and claws and murder, standing roughly 12 feet tall with armor plating that made battleship hulls look like wet paper. This creature, Vex continued, his middle eye focusing with uncomfortable intensity, has been specifically designed to be completely, utterly, and absolutely unkillable by any weapon in your current arsenal. Its hide deflects plasma. Its regeneration outpaces projectile damage. Energy weapons feed it. Explosives make it angry. Are we clear? Crystal clear, sir, said Kelron, a Bravix whose exoskeleton was already showing stress fractures. The poor kid was literally cracking under pressure, and the test had not even started yet. The Quellan sitting beside him, had gone through approximately 6 color changes in the last minute. Her species communicated partially through bioluminescence, and right now, she was screaming silent terror in about 15 different hues. The objective, Vex said, letting the words hang like a death sentence, is not to fight, it is not to win, it is to survive. You will learn tactical retreat. You will learn when to abandon pride. You will learn that some battles cannot be won, only endured. Graduation requires passing this test. There are no exceptions. That was when I noticed him, the human. Rafi Wright, according to my data file, sitting in the back row, looking about as concerned as someone waiting for toast to pop. Humans. Why did it always have to be humans? He raised his hand. Vex's eyes all swiveled toward him with the enthusiasm of someone spotting a parasite in their morning nutrition paste. Cadet Wright. Yeah. Hi, quick question, Rafi said, his tone aggressively casual. You said the hide deflects plasma and regenerates through projectile damage. What is the regeneration rate exactly? And what is the molecular composition of the armor plating? The briefing hall went quiet. Not the good kind of quiet. The kind of quiet that happens right before someone says something monumentally stupid. Vex's crystal structure actually creaked. Cadet Wright, did you miss the part where I said unkillable? No, sir. I heard that part, Rafi replied, leaning back in his seat like he was discussing the weather. I am just curious about the specifics. Does it regenerate cellularly or through some kind of quantum restructuring? And the armor, is it organic, synthetic, or a composite? Bravik, a hulking Korthian sitting 2 seats away from Rafi, leaned over. Human, he rumbled in that subharmonic way his species had. The instructor is telling us to run away. Why are you asking how to study it? Knowledge is power, big guy, Rafi said with a shrug. I watched Vex's color shift from his normal prismatic blue to a distinctly irritated purple. Cadet Wright, the simulation creature's specifications are classified at level 7. You will not receive that information. What you will receive is a failing grade if you attempt anything other than survival tactics. Am I perfectly absolutely crystal clear? Sure, Rafi said, but here is the thing about humans. When they say sure, they do not actually mean yes. They mean I heard the sounds you made with your face hole. This had cycled back to her normal pale green, though her tendrils were still twitching nervously. Has anyone ever actually killed the simulation creature? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. In 70 years of this program, Vex said, his tone taking on an almost reverent quality, across 43,000 cadets, exactly 0 have eliminated the apex predator, because it cannot be done. The test is not about winning, it is about surviving long enough to reach the extraction point. 3 kilometers, 30 minutes, that is all. Sounds fun, Rafi muttered. Kelron's exoskeleton cracked a bit more. I made a mental note to keep my sensory stalks trained on the human during the simulation. Something about his body language, the way he held himself, the complete lack of appropriate fear, it all screamed trouble. And in my experience, when humans got that particular look in their eyes, the universe was about to learn something new, usually something explosive. You are all dismissed, Vex announced. Report to the simulation deck at 0800 tomorrow. Get rest. Make peace with your deities. Try not to die. As the cadets filed out, I noticed Rafi lingering, his eyes still locked on the rotating hologram of the apex predator. He was not looking at it with fear. He was looking at it like a problem. Oh, this was going to be good. The armory at 0700 was a symphony of panic and poor decision-making. Cadets scrambled through equipment racks like their lives depended on it, which, to be fair, sort of did. Simulation or not, the pain receptors were real enough and nobody wanted to experience being virtually mauled by an apex predator before breakfast. Kelron was loading his third portable shield generator onto his equipment harness. Then his fourth. His exoskeleton was groaning under the weight, but apparently his survival strategy was to become a mobile fortress and prey to whatever Bravik's deity handled lost causes. More shields, he muttered to himself, reaching for a fifth unit. Definitely need more shields. Thissa had gone in the opposite direction, selecting the lightest possible gear. Her philosophy was clearly speed over protection. Smart, actually. Cannot get eaten if you are too fast to catch. Her bioluminescence had settled into a determined orange, which in Quellan color language roughly translated to I am terrified but pretending I am not. Bravik, being a Korthian, had the luxury of natural armor plating that could shrug off small arms fire. He was casually selecting a standard rifle and some basic supplies, looking about as worried as a boulder contemplating rain. And then there was Rafi. The human had commandeered an entire workstation in the corner of the armory, and had spread out enough equipment to outfit a small militia. But here is what made it weird. He was not gearing up. He was taking things apart. What is the human doing? Kelron asked, his translator barely managing to convey his confusion through the stress cracks in his voice. I had positioned myself near the equipment lockers with a perfect view of the chaos. My species, the Nixari, are natural observers. We have sensory stock specifically evolved for being nosy. It is practically our cultural heritage. He appears to be. I paused, my stalks focusing on Rafi's hands, disassembling a plasma rifle while reading technical manuals on exothermic reactions and metallurgical stress points. Why? Thissa asked, her color shifting to a confused yellow-green. Because he is human, Bravik rumbled. They are all insane. Now, here is the thing about humans that the rest of the galaxy learned the hard way. When the Galactic Council first made contact with Earth, we thought we had found a species of moderately intelligent primates, with decent tool-making skills and concerning aggression levels. Standard stuff. We had seen a dozen species like that. We were wrong. Humans do not accept limits. They do not acknowledge impossible. You tell a Quellan something cannot be done. They nod and find another path. You tell a Bravik something is impossible. They agree and adapt. You tell a Korthian the odds. They calculate and adjust. You tell a human something cannot be done. They take it as a personal insult and a challenge. They split atoms because someone said they could not. They went to their moon because it was difficult. They domesticated wolves into pets, crossed oceans on wooden planks, and invented warfare as both an art form and a science. Their homeworld tried to kill them with predators, diseases, weather and geological disasters. Their response: they became the dominant species anyway and then got bored and left to find new challenges. The galaxy did not invite humans to join the Galactic Defense Academy because we thought they would follow the rules. We invited them because when the universe says no, humans are the only species arrogant enough to argue. Rafi had now completely disassembled 3 different weapons and was sorting components into piles that made absolutely no sense to anyone watching. He had power cells next to what looked like medical supplies, a targeting computer sitting next to a plasma torch, and a concerning amount of adhesive compounds. Cadet right, Equipment Master Torin called out, his dual trunks waving in agitation. You are supposed to be selecting gear, not conducting unauthorized modifications. Just doing some research, sir. Rafi called back, not looking up from whatever unholy combination he was building. Research, Turin repeated, his species equivalent of a skeptical eyebrow raise. The simulation begins in 50 minutes. Plenty of time. I watched as Rafi pulled out his personal datapad and started cross-referencing something. His fingers moved quickly, pulling up files on biological systems, energy transfer coefficients, and something about thermodynamic shock responses. Whatever he was planning, it involved math. A lot of math. He is going to get himself killed, Kelron said, watching Rafi work. Probably, Bravik agreed. Definitely, Thissa added, her colors pulsing with second-hand anxiety. But here is what they were not seeing. Refi was not panicking. He was not loading up on defensive equipment. He was not resigning himself to running away. He was problem-solving, and that smile on his face, that little half-grin that humans get when they are onto something, that was the most dangerous expression in the known galaxy. Because somewhere in that primate brain Refi Wright had decided that Commander Vex was wrong. The apex predator could be stopped. He just had to figure out how. Equipment Master Torin wandered over to Refi's workstation, looked at the organized chaos, and his trunks drooped in defeated confusion. "What are you building, Cadet?" Refi looked up, his grin widening. "A surprise, sir." Torin's trunks twitched. He had been working with humans long enough to know that when they said surprise, what they actually meant was probable war crime. "Just do not blow up my armory," Torin sighed. "No promises," Refi said cheerfully. 20 minutes before the simulation, Refi finally finished whatever mad science project he had been conducting. He loaded his modified equipment onto his harness, checked his weapon 3 times, and cracked his knuckles in that unsettling way humans do. Kelron, carrying enough shields to stop a meteor, looked over at him. "You have barely any protection." Refi patted his modified rifle. "Do not need it. You are going to die first," Thissa said, her colors flashing worried purple. "Maybe," Refi admitted. "But it will be interesting." That was the moment I knew the simulation was not going to go according to plan. The simulation deck materialized around us in that disorienting way that holoprojection technology always does. Like reality hiccuping and then deciding to be somewhere else entirely. One moment we were standing in a sterile white chamber, the next we were knee-deep in an alien swamp that smelled like sulfur and regret. Perfect. The environment was hostile by design. Thick vegetation that probably had teeth. Water that bubbled ominously. A sky that looked like a bruise. Somewhere in the distance something howled, and it was not the friendly kind of howl. It was the your death will be agonizing kind of howl. "Extraction point is 3 kilometers north-northwest," Kelron announced, his scanner beeping frantically. His shields were already active, humming with power and making him look like a walking disco ball of anxiety. "We have 30 minutes. Then we should move," Brevik said, his rifle raised and ready. For someone built like a tank, he moved surprisingly quietly through the swamp. Thissa had shifted to a camouflage pattern, her skin mimicking the surrounding vegetation. Smart. Her species had not survived as prey animals on their homeworld by being easy to spot. "Anyone else think this is too quiet?" she whispered. She was right. The simulation was never this quiet. Usually by now something had tried to eat us, poison us, or explode near us. The fact that nothing had happened yet was somehow worse than immediate danger. Refi was walking casually behind the group, his modified weapon held loosely, his eyes scanning the environment like he was on a nature hike rather than a survival exam. He had clipped some kind of jury-rigged device to his belt that occasionally beeped and flashed. I had no idea what it did. I was not sure I wanted to know. That was when we heard it. The sound started as a low rumble, like distant thunder deciding to get personal. Then it escalated into a roar that made my sensory stalks retract instinctively into my head. The sound was not just loud, it was felt. It vibrated through your bones, your organs, your soul if you believed in that sort of thing. "Contact," Brevik said, which was perhaps the calmest reaction to imminent death I had ever witnessed. The apex predator emerged from the tree line like a nightmare achieving physical form. 12 feet of biological impossibility covered in overlapping plates of armor that gleamed like polished obsidian. Its eyes, all 6 of them, glowed with a sickly yellow light. Its mouth opened to reveal rows of teeth that could probably chew through starship hulls. And it was fast. Incredibly, horrifyingly fast. "Defensive positions," Kelron shouted, his voice cracking. His shields flared brighter as he planted himself between the creature and the rest of the team. Brevik opened fire immediately. Plasma bolts streaked through the air, each one hitting the creature dead center. The apex predator did not even slow down. The plasma dissipated across its armor plating like water off a duck, leaving absolutely 0 damage. "Projectile weapons," Thissa yelled, switching to her backup rifle. Solid slugs this time, magnetically accelerated to hypersonic speeds. 3 rounds hit the creature in what should have been vital areas. The creature roared again. The holes sealed themselves within seconds, armor plating flowing like liquid to cover the damage. Regeneration in real time. Just like Commander Vex had promised. "Oh, this is bad," Kelron said, his shields already taking hits as the creature swiped at him with claws the size of swords. "This is very bad. We need to move. Now." "Retreat protocol," Brevik ordered, laying down suppressing fire that accomplished absolutely nothing except annoying the monster. "Fall back to secondary position." The team started moving, backing away while maintaining fire. Standard tactical retreat. Exactly what they had been trained to do. Exactly what the test was designed to evaluate. Rafi did not retreat. Human, I called out. My translator probably making my panic sound hilarious. What are you doing? Rafi had dropped to one knee, his modified weapon aimed at the creature. That device on his belt was beeping faster now, lights flashing in a pattern that looked almost like it was calculating something. Rafi, move, Thissa screamed, her colors flashing emergency red. The apex predator noticed him. Of course it noticed him. He was the only idiot not running. The creature pivoted, its attention locking onto Rafi with a kind of focus that predators reserve for prey that is either very brave or very stupid. Cadet right. That is a direct order, Brevik bellowed. Retreat immediately. Rafi did not even acknowledge him. His eyes were locked on the creature, his weapon steady, and that device kept beeping. Whatever he was waiting for, it had not happened yet. The creature charged. 12 feet of murder and armor moving faster than anything that size had any right to move. It covered 30 meters in under 3 seconds, claws extended, jaws open, ready to turn Rafi into a fine red mist. Kelron screamed. Thissa went completely white, which in Quillan language meant absolute terror. Brevik actually started moving back toward Rafi, which was pointless but admirable. And Rafi smiled. That human smile. The one that said, I know something you do not. He squeezed the trigger. What happened next was not what any of us expected. The weapon did not fire plasma. It did not fire projectiles. Instead it released what looked like a focused beam of crackling energy. But wrong somehow. Unstable. The air around the beam shimmered and distorted. The beam hit the apex predator center mass. For exactly 1 second, nothing happened. Then the creature stopped. Just stopped mid-charge, its momentum carrying it forward a few more feet before it stumbled. Its roar turned into something else. Something confused. Something that sounded almost like pain. Its armor plating started cracking. Not from external damage. From the inside. Hairline fractures spread across its surface, like a spider web, glowing with the same unstable energy that Rafi had hit it with. What did you do? I whispered, unable to look away. Rafi stood up, ejecting a power cell from his weapon that was glowing white-hot. He slapped in a fresh one with practiced ease. Thermodynamic shock, he said casually. Its regeneration works by rapidly metabolizing energy and redistributing matter at the cellular level, but every biological system has thermal tolerances. I just figured out what happens when you superheat its internal temperature faster than it can compensate. The creature staggered, trying to regenerate, but the damage was spreading faster than it could heal. Its armor plates were buckling, its movements becoming erratic. You figured out, Kelron said slowly, his shields dropping as he stared in disbelief. How to kill the unkillable simulation monster. Not killed yet, Rafi said, raising his weapon again. But we are getting there. The apex predator roared one more time, and this time it did not sound confident. It sounded angry. It sounded hurt. It sounded like something that had just realized it might actually lose. Rafi grinned. Round 2. The apex predator was adapting. Of course it was adapting. The simulation had been programmed by the best military minds in the galaxy specifically to be an unbeatable learning tool. What we had not accounted for was that Rafi Wright apparently did not care about programming. The creature's armor began redistributing, thickening in areas where the thermal cracks had spread. Its regeneration systems went into overdrive, burning through energy reserves to counteract the damage. Biological perfection attempting to correct for an unexpected variable, the variable being one stubborn human with a physics degree and absolutely zero sense of self-preservation. It is compensating, Rafi muttered, watching the creature through his weapon scope. That device on his belt was still beeping, feeding him data, figures. Okay, plan B. There is a plan B? Thissa asked, her colors cycling through confused patterns so fast she looked like a malfunctioning light display. Always, Rafi said. He reached into his equipment harness and pulled out what looked like 3 modified grenades. Except they were not grenades. They were power cells. Overcharged power cells wrapped in some kind of metallic webbing. Oh no, Rafi, I said carefully. My sensory stalks fully extended in what my species called the configuration of extreme concern. What are those? Kinetic delivery system for concentrated thermal payloads, he replied, priming all 3 devices. He made bombs, Brevik translated. His tone caught somewhere between impressed and horrified. The human made improvised explosive devices in the armory. They are not bombs, Rafi corrected. Bombs are crude. These are precision thermal shock devices designed to exploit specific weaknesses in regenerative biological systems. So bombs, Kelron said. Fancy bombs, Rafi conceded. The apex predator had finished its adaptation and was now moving again. circling Rafi like a predator that had learned caution. Its 6 eyes tracked his every movement, calculating, analyzing. The simulation's artificial intelligence was working overtime, trying to determine what this small human had done to hurt it and how to prevent it from happening again. Up in the observation deck, which I could not see but absolutely knew was there, Commander Vex was probably experiencing several different kinds of cardiac distress. Rafi threw the first device, not at the creature, at the ground between them. The modified power cell hit the swamp water and detonated with a flash of superheated energy. Steam exploded outward in a massive cloud, instantly creating a boiling fog bank that obscured everything. The temperature in the immediate area spiked by at least 40 degrees. Thermal camouflage, Rafi said, moving immediately to the left while the creature's vision was compromised. Its sensory organs are calibrated for standard temperature ranges. Extreme environmental shifts cause processing delays. He threw the second device to the right. Another explosion, another cloud of superheated steam. The apex predator roared, spinning in confusion as its targeting systems tried to compensate for the sudden thermal chaos. It is blind, Thissa whispered, her colors shifting to amazed blue. Not blind, Rafi corrected, circling behind the creature. Confused, different problem, same result. The creature lashed out randomly, claws tearing through vegetation and water, trying to hit anything. It was magnificent and terrifying, a perfect killing machine suddenly reduced to flailing in frustration, because one human had decided that the environmental conditions were negotiable. Rafi activated his modified rifle again, but this time he did not fire at the creature's body. He fired at the armor plates that had cracked earlier. The beam hit the weakened areas and the thermal shock spread like lightning through compromised material. The creature screamed, not roared, screamed. A sound of actual pain that I had never heard from a simulation before. The armor is not just protection, Rafi explained, moving again as the creature tried to locate him through the steam. It is part of its thermoregulation system. Damage the armor, and its internal temperature control goes haywire. Every time it tries to regenerate the plating, it has to divert energy from cooling systems. It is cooking itself from the inside. That is horrifying, Kelron said. That is brilliant, Bravik countered. Rafi threw his last thermal device, this one directly at the creature's feet. The explosion sent superheated mud and water spraying across its legs and lower body. More armor cracked. More internal systems went into crisis mode. Final shot, Rafi said, his weapon charging with a high-pitched whine that did not sound healthy. He had definitely overclocked that thing beyond recommended specifications. This is either going to work or I am going to need a new rifle. Or a coffin, I added helpfully. Optimism, Rafi said. I like it. He waited. The creature was thrashing now, its movements becoming less coordinated. Its regeneration was burning through energy faster than it could replenish. The steam was clearing and soon it would locate Rafi again. This had to be timed perfectly. The apex predator's eyes locked onto Rafi. It roared one final time and charged with everything it had left. Desperation and fury and programmed instinct to kill the thing that had hurt it. Rafi did not move. He aimed at the creature's chest where the largest concentration of cracked armor had formed, where its core systems would be struggling the most to maintain equilibrium. He fired. The beam hit dead center. The energy discharge was so intense that I had to retract my sensory stalks to avoid permanent damage. The sound was like reality tearing. The light was blinding. When my vision cleared, the apex predator was on the ground. Not dead. Simulations did not die but disabled, completely, utterly disabled. Its armor was shattered, its systems in complete thermal collapse, its programming trying desperately to reboot functions that had been systematically destroyed. Silence fell over the simulation. Then, from speakers we could not see, Commander Vex's voice echoed through the environment. He sounded like someone whose entire worldview had just been violated. Simulation terminated. Cadet Wright, report to my office immediately. Rafi lowered his weapon, steam rising from the barrel. He looked at the fallen creature, then at us, then shrugged. So, did I pass? Kelron's exoskeleton stress fractures had somehow gotten worse. Thissa had turned a color that probably did not exist in her species' normal range. Bravik was just staring, his weapon forgotten in his hands. I was laughing. I could not help it. 70 years, 43,000 cadets, 0 successful eliminations. Until a human decided the test was more like a suggestion. You absolute maniac, I said through my translator, which was definitely not designed to convey hysterical laughter. Rafi grinned. I prefer creative problem solver. The simulation dissolved around us, returning us to the white chamber. Somewhere above us, instructors were having emergency meetings. Somewhere in the academy database, records were being rewritten. And somewhere, Rafi Wright was absolutely not sorry. Commander Vex's office was designed to be intimidating. High ceilings, crystalline walls that reflected light in disorienting patterns, a desk that looked like it had been carved from a single piece of obsidian. The commander himself sat behind it, all three eyes fixed on Rafi with an expression that could have melted hull plating. The rest of us had been allowed to attend the debriefing as witnesses. Lucky us. Explain, Vex said. Not asked. Commanded. His voice had gone from grinding stones to grinding stones that were personally offended. Rafi stood at ease, hands behind his back, looking completely unbothered by the fact that he had just committed what was essentially academic heresy. Sir, you said the creature was unkillable using standard weapons and tactics. I used non-standard weapons and tactics. Seemed pretty straightforward. Vex's crystalline structure actually pulsed with a color I had never seen before. Possibly rage. Possibly a stroke. Hard to tell with Voraths. You modified Academy equipment without authorization, Vex continued, counting off on his fingers. You created improvised thermal devices that violate at least 6 safety protocols. You ignored direct orders to retreat. You engaged a superior force alone, and you somehow, impossibly defeated a simulation that has remained unbeaten for 70 standard years. So I passed? Rafi asked. Equipment Master Torin, who was standing in the corner looking like he regretted every life choice that had led to this moment, made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a dying animal. The test was about survival and tactical retreat, Vex said slowly, like he was explaining basic concepts to a particularly dim child. Not about winning. Right, but surviving is easier when the thing trying to kill you is disabled, Rafi pointed out. Just logically speaking. Vissa, who had been trying very hard to blend into the wall, let out a small chirp of nervous laughter. Her colors immediately went apologetic when Vex's eyes swiveled toward her. Cadet Wright, Vex said, his tone shifting to something almost curious. How did you know it would work? Rafi shrugged. I did not. Not completely. But you gave us the information we needed during the briefing. You said the creature regenerates by metabolizing energy. Any biological system that burns energy generates heat. Any system that generates heat needs cooling. Armor plating that thick. It is not just protection. It is a heat sink. Compromise the heat sink, force the system into thermal overload, and the regeneration becomes a liability instead of an asset. The room went quiet. Even Kelron had stopped cracking. You derived all of that from a 5-minute briefing? Vex asked. And about 6 hours of research in the Academy database, Rafi admitted. Your security on technical specifications is pretty good, but your academic papers on theoretical xenobiology are wide open. Found 3 studies on regenerative systems in extreme environments, cross-referenced with thermodynamic principles. Did some math. Built a weapon. Hoped for the best. Breivik rumbled something in his native language that the translator rendered as a Korthian expression of profound respect mixed with concern for someone's sanity. Vex leaned back in his chair, and for a long moment he just stared at Rafi. Then, incredibly, he laughed. It sounded like rocks in a grinder finding something funny, which was deeply unsettling. 70 years, Vex said, shaking his head. 70 years we have run this simulation. Do you know how many species have attempted what you just did? All of them? Rafi guessed. None of them, Vex corrected. Because when we tell other species something is impossible, they believe us. They adapt. They find alternative solutions. They accept reality and work within its constraints. Sounds boring, Rafi said. Vex's laugh became louder. Cadet Wright, you pass. Obviously. With the highest marks ever recorded on this examination. Congratulations, you have also successfully forced us to completely redesign a 70-year-old training protocol because apparently humans cannot be trusted to follow simple instructions like do not try to kill the unkillable monster. To be fair, sir, Rafi said, you never actually ordered us not to kill it. You just said it could not be done. Semantics, Vex muttered. Important semantics, Rafi countered. I watched this exchange with fascination. This was it. This was why humans were simultaneously the most valuable and most frustrating species in the Galactic Defense Academy. They did not accept limitations. They heard impossible and translated it to difficult. They looked at problems everyone else had given up on and asked why not. It was infuriating. It was inspiring. It was absolutely going to get them all killed someday. But not today. Dismissed, Vex said finally. All of you. Cadet Wright, try not to break any more decades-old records this week. I have enough paperwork already. We filed out of the office. In the hallway, Kelron turned to Rafi, his exoskeleton still showing stress fractures. You could have died, Kelron said. But I did not, Rafi replied cheerfully. You could have failed, but I did not. You could have just followed orders and passed normally. Rafi stopped walking and turned to face all of us. That grin was back. The dangerous one. Yeah, he said. But where is the fun in that? This cycled through approximately 12 colors before settling on something between admiration and exasperation. Bervik clapped Refi on the shoulder hard enough to stagger him. Kelron just sighed, his translator making it sound like structural collapse. And me. I recorded everything in my memory files, because this was the moment. The perfect encapsulation of why humans had gone from primitive planet-bound primates to galactic citizens in less than 2 centuries. Someone told them something could not be done, and they took that personally. Somewhere in the academy, training protocols were being rewritten. Simulation parameters were being adjusted. Safety briefings were being expanded to include new sections specifically about humans and their tendency to ignore the word impossible. The universe had spent billions of years establishing rules. Humans had spent a few thousand years finding loopholes. And honestly, I could not wait to see what they broke next.